Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside Leather History, a Fireside Chat. I'm Doug OKeeffe, host of the chats, and the producer of the chats, which are a program of the Leather Archives and Museum. Today, I'm sitting down with Joey Alegrett Jones, who's in, what's the name of the town in Kentucky?
Crescent Springs.
Crescent Springs, Kentucky.
Yep.
Joey goes way back in the community. He's a piercer and a leatherman. Let's start right at the very beginning, Joey. Tell me a little bit about where you're from, about your family and background.
Well, I grew up in Washington, D.C., actually McLean, Virginia, Langley, over by the CIA. And
Ooh.
my very first leather bar, I remember, is the Eagle. And my family being from the diplomatic corps, my mother being from Venezuela, and my father coming from Venezuela, we were diplomats. So growing up, I grew up fairly, common household, mom, dad, kids, and ended up going to boarding school. So on during the summers, I would spend trying to explore what is a gay bar, what
Hmm.
should I do, and such forth and stuff like that. So, but it was a good experience. I think boarding schools taught me structure and discipline and responsibilities. And my parents were very strict, but always very busy traveling and stuff. So we had nannies, which is good, I guess, because you could say they kept us in line. So, but other than that, no, it was a good upbringing. It was fairly normal, just going to school during the year and then home during the summers, and in the summers I was always curious as why do I think construction guys are so hot, or why do I think those boots are so hot? I don't know. Let's figure it out. So
But you said during school you were trying to figure out what a gay bar was. Tell me a little about that.
well, because you lived with guys in a dorm and you showered with them and all that, and you're wondering why the hell you would get hard in the shower during certain things, and it wasn't unnormal to, uh, I guess you could say the term is sword fight with guys, and we were all
Ah,
straight, so no gayness going on, but it was that curiosity of what beyond the sword fights could I explore, or what could I see, or and why was I feeling this way towards certain guys and not this way towards other guys? And I still like girls, but I didn't know whether I wanted to be with a girl or not. Um, but it was an interesting childhood to say the least. Hiding your you'd buy little porn magazines and stuff like that, not online. You'd go to the actual stores because back then we didn't have cell phones, and you'd hide them from your parents or whatever, or the GQ. My go-to was GQ magazine.
okay.
So, and I'd look at all the guys and all that stuff, and it was quite an upbringing trying to figure out why I thought the construction worker Steve, who worked on our pool house or whatever, was so hot in his construction boots, and I would look out the window masturbating, thinking about him, and I'd be like, "Holy fuck, what did I just do? This isn't normal. Maybe it is." So, but it was good. It was a good upbringing. And then in boarding school, you sort of, oh, I'll give you a back rub, and then you're giving a guy a back rub, and it ended up being something else, and you give him head, but it was never discussed and never talked about,
Uh,
So, but you experimented in high school, especially in boarding school. So I remember one guy in particular who was, I guess you could say, a regular. Every other night, I would slip into his room and give him a blowjob, and then slip out of his room, and that was that. It was good for 4 years.
but how did you even have any concept on a blowjob if you didn't really know
Um,
what was going on?
I didn't know what was going on, but yet you watch straight porn, so you have an idea of what to do, or and you know what a guy knows what a guy likes. So, and we went from there.
So tell us a little more about your general coming out. How did you become acquainted with the gay community, leather kink?
Um, well, I would say my first bar I ever went to was in DuPont Circle in Washington D.C., and it was Mr. P's on P Street, and it was funny because I ended up I went with my sister first of all because she was my fag hag, my buffer, and in going with my sister, I ended up going home with this guy and not really doing anything. But I remember my first kiss of a guy. He kissed me, and I don't know if I had too much to drink, but distinctly remember saying "excuse me" and running down his hallway and throwing up in his bathroom after he kissed me. I was so embarrassed. We ended up leaving soon after. My sister did come to the place with me, but then after that, I remember finding the Eagle, looking it up in the phone book, and also I had a copy for some reason. I remember having a copy of the Jammer's Guide. I don't know
Sure.
if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I went to go check it out, and I saw the motorcycles out front, and I instantly was like turned on. And I remember my heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. The adrenaline was pumping because I was so excited yet so nervous at the same time. And I went into the bar. I was 21, and I remember backing up to the lockers they had in front of the Eagle there at the DC Eagle and just staying there all night. And
Wow.
the nicest guy, the nicest bartender, Jim, um, and I still remember him. He was a tall man. He was like 6'7". He was a
Ooh.
really tall guy, and he was just the sweetest guy. Said, "It's your first time, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Don't be nervous. Just be careful and all that." And I was like, "All right." So Jim was my go-to. I'd always stick around Jim, get my drinks from him and all that. And yeah, it was great. I think it was like my third time going to the Eagle that I was first picked up by a guy on his motorcycle. Took me on his
Wow.
motorcycle to his place in DC. We parked in his garage, and we had sex on his motorcycle. It was wild. It was everything I ever imagined and then some. So, and I knew I was hooked right there and then. I was like, "This is it. These are my people." So,
But if you were only recently out at that point,
right, right.
how did you even have a clue about a leather bar?
Um, I knew what I was attracted to, and I knew that there was like in reading and looking at different magazines, I knew that I wasn't attracted to and not to put it down in any way because everybody has their own fetish, their own thing. Um, I found bears attractive, but not quite my thing. Then I found jocks attractive in the sense of, the whole jock, the outfits and all that, and the jock straps, but not my thing. And then I looked at the leather guys, and I think it was the boots. The boots are what attracted me the most because they were it was more masculine. It was, to me, a guy who wears boots, like biker boots and all that, is butch. He's not a femme, and he's more masculine, more secure. And it's just the whole look, the boots with the not necessarily leather pants, more like boots with jeans and a t-shirt. That did it for me. I was hooked. I was like, yeah, that's it. So
What was,
it,
oh, sorry.
no, I was gonna say, eventually though, later in life, I ended up realizing I had the boot fetish, and at one point in time, I had 438 pairs of boots myself. So they thought I was a little crazy, but it is what it is. You like what you like, and you buy what you buy, or you're given. Um, I remember that Stompers Boots in San Francisco. I
Sure.
went to visit there, and I ended up getting my first pair of thigh highs and my first pair of knee highs. And I could grab a pair of boots, lick them, and come all over them. So yeah, it was boots, definitely the boots, the masculinity of it.
A 438 pair of boots. Imelda Marcos didn't even have that many shoes.
I know all my well now my exes, but all my former partners used to say, "Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. This is crazy." They're like, "You have a whole room just full of racks full of boots," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I do, but it's my thing."
Wow.
So,
Now, in going to the Eagle in DC and experiencing this, what was the most shocking or surprising thing you experienced there?
um, when when I went out on the patio, and the things that
Okay.
happen on the patio stay on the patio because it was like there was a lot of things going on that patio that I never thought I would witness in a bar. It was quite eye opening, let's say, such as guys sucking guys off, guys hooking guys off, and guys doing other things with guys, and I'm like, wow, in a bar, this is amazing. So yeah, it was pretty eye opening, saying that, oh wow, this really happens in America. And later to find out everywhere else too, from Amsterdam all the way to Germany. So yeah, it was like, okay, it's a norm. So
Now, how did you grow more into the leather community?
okay, so I knew I found my people. I knew what I liked, and I ended up working and being general manager of the Stagecoach Saloon and Restaurant in Baltimore for
Okay.
Larry Vanderveken, and we were country western, but we also had leather guys coming in, and I was just more prone to always liking the leather guys and the cowboys because they had the boots. Don't forget the boots, and it was just a big turn on. And from there, I ended up moving to San Francisco and joining Mark, who used to own Loading Dock in San Francisco. And though I did real estate and piercings during the day, um, I was like, I didn't actually do piercings. I was a piercing apprentice. So I was the one that got the brush teeth and all that stuff before they did the tongue piercing and all that. But at night I would go to the loading dock and hang out. And then eventually, Mark wasn't doing that well, so he wanted out of the loading dock. And I said, why don't I invest and become, a partner? And I said, however, the agreement is that if I become a partner, you become a silent partner, and meaning you have no more say, and
Yeah.
we run this place correctly. Well, at the time, they didn't allow women in at all at the loading dock. It was men only, and that was a problem because you can't discriminate. And the fact that they didn't allow women, and we weren't a private club, we were public. We didn't have a membership. That there was a lot of legal issues going on. So when I took over, and I was the dock master, as the title was given to me, I revamped it, and I remember asking Mama um, Reinhardt. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yes, Mama Sandy Reinhardt. Yes.
Right, of course. And so we had a greet meet for the loading dock, and it was covered by Mr. Marcus, who was the Bay Area reporter, leather commentary or gossip columnist.
Yes.
And the greet meet was to raise money for the AEF, AIDS Emergency Fund of San Francisco. And I knew I was doing the right thing because people were telling me that they enjoyed the space better and all that. So in inviting Mama, she was the very first woman to ever enter the loading dock, and I also invited the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So we ended up raising, I believe it was like $8,000 in one night, so which was really good for the AEF. But also opening the doors and the concept of the leather community and being united as a community and not divided as a community. And people enjoyed it. People had a great time. We had I would say a probably 50 to 60% increase in business, just like instantly. It became very successful. My only thing was I met a gentleman that came into the loading dock who I ended up falling in love with, and then I was not. I thought he was from San Francisco, and it turns out he was going to school, finishing his master's degree in biomechanics kinesiology, and he was the swimming and diving coach for the University of Wisconsin.
Uh,
So I ended up selling everything and moving to Wisconsin.
Interestingly enough, you attended Georgetown, where you were studying to be a cardiologist. How did
Yes.
that happen?
Well, I was always interested in the medical field and helping people, and for some reason I wanted to be a cardiologist because of the fact that that's the heartbeat, that's the essence of the brain and the heart, are everything. And back then, I believe that's what I wanted. I wanted to be an endoscopic cardiologist, meaning that I do internal medicine, internal surgeries and stuff. And I wasn't afraid of blood and all that. However, um, in attending Georgetown, I figured it out that it wasn't quite my niche, what exactly what I was looking for. I thought it was. I believe that I wanted to be a doctor, and now that I think and I look back more towards it, I think it was more for, even though I wanted it, I think it's more for my parents, for
Uh,
the status quo, the status of it. Um, but yeah, no, I eventually ended up dropping out due to the fact that I wasn't into it anymore. I was lost, I guess you could say, trying to
uh,
find my true meaning in life. So yeah, I dropped out, and it was due to me going to get pierced in Georgetown at one of the best shops in Georgetown. Um, I was going to get my labret pierced, which is right below the lip, in the middle of the lip. And I remember going to the best shop I could find that I did my research on. And again, you didn't have cell phones, so you had to go to an actual computer, or word of mouth, or phone book, because back
right.
then you had the yellow pages.
Yep.
And going to the shop, I skipped class that day to go to the shop to get pierced, and I watched her put the piercing tools and the needles and all that into a sink and pour Comet on top and spray them down and
Yeah.
just rebag them, and not even no ultrasonic, no. And I knew about the sterilization technique from being in school, and I'm like, wait a minute, she didn't ultrasonic, and she's reusing needles. What the hell? And I confronted her. I said, excuse me, are you allowed to do that? And she was like, there's no U.S. law that says I can't do what I just did. And she was right. I said, I mean, I couldn't look it up right there. I said, I think I'm going to have to skip my appointment right now and come back. And I did my research, and she was right. And I was like, wow, there's nothing to prevent, disease prevention and contamination and all that. And so, yeah, so I knew that I was on the edge of leaving Georgetown, that I think that's what pushed me over to go ahead and leave.
Wow.
And I knew right there I wanted to make a difference and become a body piercer. However, my father, finding out that I wasn't going to class, came down on me and said, you better get a some sort of degree. I don't care what it's in, but you're getting a degree or we're cutting you off. And I'm
Wow.
like, okay, so there we go. And
But
I ended up going to University of Delaware, becoming a fighting blue hen
uh,
of all things.
but how did the hygienic things come about for piercings? I mean, if she was doing that, and we're not talking about something that happened a long time ago,
Um,
how did
well,
that change?
over time, APP, the Association of Professional Piercers, was formed.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people started, they wanted, a lot of piercers and tattoo artists for that matter, they wanted better sterile. They wanted to do better. And to do better was to be more sterile, more safe, more sound, provide a clean, sterile environment. And in such forth, following OSHA standards, we started looking stuff up. And, it wasn't safe if you didn't wipe things down with mat aside and stuff like that. You had to, you were this. I mean, this was the '80s. We're
Yeah.
in the middle of a AIDS outbreak or HIV outbreak, and so you had to be use caution. And and the whole thing with the needles, it was ridiculous that you could reuse a needle.
Yeah.
So it just became a thing that we fought. First, it was by state, and then it was by federal government fighting legislation when in making these laws to prevent disease prevention and transmission, and to promote hygiene and sterilization, and have techniques put into place that you had to follow to become a actual licensed piercer, and not Joe Schmo out of a garage
Yeah.
piercing someone. You know, um, and we it's funny because of the whole needle thing with the Claire's and the Hot Topic and all that. People didn't realize that as piercing guns, they didn't throw away; they just reused. And
Right.
you're lucky if they got wiped down with an alcohol wipe, which is not a sterilization technique, by
Yeah.
any means. So it became more and more popular, more and more radical. Uh, the Gauntlet from Jim Ward. I think Jim Ward really started the whole forefront on the whole piercing, with the doing it correctly, doing it right, doing it fairly and sanely, with Elaine Angel and all that. They were they were the real forefront runners of the whole piercing industry and the whole sterilization thing. And and now APP is huge and they're worldwide, in different chapters, different memberships, and it's become a thing. You're not a piercer unless you can be a non-APP member, but however, it's looked onto as status if you're an APP member. So,
Okay.
and APP standing for Association of Professional Piercers, and APT Association of Professional Tattooists. They started their chapter as well. Louis Lucerno, um, or sawbones, they called them, because he used to sawbones in Vietnam. He used to cut people's legs and arms off.
Oh,
He was the
thank you.
forerunner for it. Okay, sorry.
But I can't imagine. There had to be some pushback from people on this that had been doing piercings and didn't want to have to sort of evolve.
Oh, of
How
course.
how did the community manage that?
Um, well, and to this day, to some degree, there's still a little pushback. However, you have to realize that people want better. People want safer. People want more sterile. People want healthier. People want the best thing there is. Um, Sometimes they're not willing to pay the price, and but it's unfortunate that you have those type of people. But for the most part, uh, for the population out there, and I believe the new generation that's coming up, people expect better. So in that they do seek more sterile and safe and sound piercing or piercers. They're not just they're doing their kids and adults alike are actually doing their homework and finding out who's the best piercer or
Yeah.
what's the safest shop, what's the cleanest shop, and such work to go to. And I think that it's become normal. Would you want to eat food off of a trash can lid, or would you want to eat food off a plate? You know, it basically comes down to that.
So you eventually moved out to San Francisco. What took you
Yes.
there?
My my I guess you could say my husband. I mean, it wasn't a legal marriage because back then they didn't have legal marriages, but we did have a ceremony and all that.
Hmm.
So he was my husband, my partner. Chris had a job in graphic design, and he had gotten a job with Skywalker Ranch with George Lucas.
Oh,
So we ended up moving out there for him, and in that I wasn't going to just stay home and not do anything. So I first started real estate. So I wasn't going to go to uh I went to get my real estate license, and what I did was I didn't do sales. I did rentals. I worked for a company called Rentec,
yeah,
and we ended up in San Francisco. It was during the whole .com boom, I guess they call
yeah,
it.
sure.
And so we ended up renting places for landlords and stuff on a commission. And I remember that I liked it a lot because you met a lot of diverse people and stuff, and everybody was looking for an apartment. For every one apartment there was maybe 80 applicants on average. It was
Wow.
ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I went into that, and I knew the whole thing about the piercing thing that I wanted to. The whole thing about piercing still bothered me that it was not safe, sterile, sound from what I experienced personally, and so I decided to seek an apprenticeship just to learn a little bit more about it. I wasn't sure
Okay.
whether I wanted to do it or not, but I did do an apprenticeship and ended up liking it more and more. However, I was so I guess you could say struck for I was a go getter. So I had three jobs. I was an apprentice, which I didn't get paid for. I
Okay.
was a realtor for Rentec, or the general manager of the Rentec office. in the Castro for many years, and then at night I would be at the loading dock. And
Pudding dog.
yeah, so I was like, whew, I get to bed at 2 a.m. and I'd be up by 7 a.m. It's like every day. So, and it was ridiculous because it was like I knew I was going well, hold on a second. Let me think for a second. Um, I knew that having these jobs would make more money, and of course in San Francisco you got to have money
Yeah.
because the average studio apartment is so expensive. I mean, it's like $1,400 at the time. But it's like I knew that I I would find a niche somewhere because I knew I loved dealing with people, but there was still that unscratched satisfaction, I guess you could say, that I the whole piercing thing bothered me, and I knew through my apprenticeship I would learn more, and I thought I was just going to go in and start learning and then start piercing. No, it doesn't work that way. Which I'm glad it doesn't, and I'm glad I learned that. No, you have
But
to
yeah.
start from the bottom, whether it's sweeping a floor or taking out trash cans or whatever, and doing it sterilely. You know, you watch the piercers and they're flipping their gloves on and off, and you're like, well, and you start questioning yourself. Well, if they're working on the same person and they're doing this, why are they doing this way? And it's like because they're doing it sterilely and soundly, and
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to become. So I wanted to promote that, and I wanted to have that, and so it became less of the real estate office and more of the piercing and the loading dock. I was, because those were my people.
I want to
So,
hear more about the legendary loading dock. What were you
oh,
doing there?
well, I first started bartending, which it was so funny because I remember I didn't know how to bartend. Some people would go, I would like a Cuba Libre, and I'll be like, Cuba, you want a beer? How about a beer? And they were like, no, I want a Cuba Libre. I'm like, what the fuck is a Cuba? Oh yeah, it's a rum and coke. So with a
Wow.
lot, so stuff like that. But I would always push the beers because I didn't know how to bartend. But eventually, I learned how to bartend, and then when Mark was felt burnt out. He he turned to me and he said, people like you have a knack for this thing. How about you ever thought of becoming a partner in a bar? And I was like, no, I'd love to. And I think it stemmed from there, from when I became a partner.
Oh,
And I told him, I said, people don't like you, however, and they really didn't. And I
wow.
told him he had to be the silent partner or it wasn't going to work. And he was like, okay, he'll step back and we'll do a big announcement, the greet meet that I spoke of, and and that's how it all started. It was like the Loading Dock was one of the most premier leather bars and establishments at its in its time.
That's
I mean, we had Alan Selby who'd come to Loading Dock, who was the original Mr. S for
right.
Mr. S Leather, you know, um, and people like that. It was amazing. It was a good atmosphere. We had a good play space. We had a Mr. S Leather store in the Loading Dock itself, a small store. And I don't know if you ever had the privilege of going there. Did you ever go to Loading Dock?
Not
No, you
not
did
in its
not.
heyday, no. I wish.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish.
it was incredible. It's amazing. As a matter of fact, I was just unpacking some of my leather clothes here to my new residence, and I found the Loading Dock original Loading Dock vest that
Oh,
it's studded. It is very nice, and it is it was really cool. I could actually call or text them to bring it over here. But yeah, no, the loading dock definitely was the big name changer. And it wasn't only going to a loading dock, however, I mean, or being part of the loading dock, it was learning from the community in itself, from going to Daddy's on in the Castro. That
sure.
was a big step for me. And as well, the Eagle. There was the San Francisco Eagle that had the best cookouts every Sunday, and it was amazing. Good crowd, good atmosphere. As a matter of fact, one of the bartenders there, Wesley, was one of my roommates in San Francisco, and it was a good, wholesome community. Um, nobody backstabbed each other. Everybody was there. If you had a problem, you discussed it and you talked about it, and it was solved. and it was just the camaraderie, I guess is the proper word to say, the camaraderie of everybody coming together. If there was a problem, you go help them out. You know, you wouldn't say, "Oh, it's daddy's, I can't go help that bar out." No, you'd help each other out, and that's the way it was. You were there for each other. Um, uh, yeah, it was incredible. The play space they provided at the loading dock, and the atmosphere, and just the music, and the play area. We as well had a back room, so to speak, and it was yeah. I think we tried to duplicate was the back was what I remember is the patio at the Eagle in DC. But however, since we didn't have an outdoor space, we had to make it like a private room. And you know what went in the room stayed in the room. And you know we said, watch your stuff, watch your wallets, watch your husbands, and that was basically it.
With the loading dock, there's a
Yeah,
very interesting piece regarding Mama Sandy Reinhardt. Why was she
right.
important to that situation?
The Mama Reinhardt was such a huge impact in the community, and she was so well loved that in the business sense, I knew that if I brought her in, and I was, you know, this was before I was pinned by Mama, um, I knew that it would bring a lot of followers and a lot of acceptance into the loading dock, which in general, under the different partnership and different management, let's say, it it was it was loved, it was appreciated, but it wasn't liked. Let's put it that way. Um,
Interesting.
I knew that if I brought Mama in, it would open up the people's eyes, saying, you know, here's who we are, here's what we're doing. We are accepting of the whole community because I always believe in including everyone. You know, not being uh, you know one thing or another.
Right.
I believe everybody has to be involved. And bringing her in, I knew it would bring not only the publicity, because I'm not dumb, but I knew it would bring in the business. And that's what I ended up doing. By the way, I was just handed the
Oh, the
original
loading
loading
dock vest. That's amazing.
in it. Yeah,
Oh, it's
it's the
beautiful.
original loading dock vest, the Dockmaster vest. So I I've had it for all these years. I've never ever gotten rid of it. So it's
If it
it's a
ever comes to a point when you want to, I'm right here.
it's a true treasure, part of history, part of the leather
Yeah,
history.
it is.
But yeah,
But
it's
but in having Mama in the bar,
mhm.
how did that sort of shape
Oh,
the
that was
future of the loading
so
dock?
right. That well, I gotta tell you, I wasn't all as accepted as I thought it would be. You know, there was a lot of we don't want women in our play space, we don't want women. And I'm like, it's I looked at it and I tried to explain it to the gentleman. It wasn't a fact of not having a woman, but including part of the community.
Yeah,
And so when I had her in the bar, it was I guess you could say a little nervous. I was nervous because of the fact that it could go either way. It's going to go good or it's going to go bad.
right.
Thank God it went well. Um, but it was very after having her in the bar and sisters of perpetual indulgence, you know, especially no drag queens, so to speak. Um, it all ended up, thank God, for some reason, it ended up being like so much better. And I had gentlemen that were totally against it come up to me and say, you know, I was wrong. This is a great space. You know, they're not bothering me. You know, I said, you know, exactly. It's part of being a community. You know, being together. And Mama, you know, Mama, she's so loving and so soft. I mean, she has such a good heart, and she puts
Yes,
everybody at ease.
yes,
So, she made people feel good, and you know, made people feel like you know, it's not that she's a woman; she's a part of the leather status community, and
right.
it was good. It was great. It turned out great. So, thank goodness.
But you eventually moved on and you
Yes,
developed your piercing business.
yes.
Tell us about that. How did that begin for you?
Um, well, I'd finished the apprenticeship and all that, and I had just begun piercing. I moved to Wisconsin,
Okay.
just north of Chicago,
Hmm.
and I didn't know what I was going to do because he was a professor for the university, and he was also the swimming and diving coach. And I was like, okay, what do I do? Become a housewife? No, that wasn't me. I was a go getter. So my my good friend Kevin Kennedy at the time, who was a member of the community, asked me. He goes, you're so into this piercing, and you want to promote sterile, safe, and a great environment. He goes, why don't you open up your own shop? And I thought about it, and I'm like, it's not a bad idea. Maybe we should do a pop up. And so we ended up doing a pop up shop. We called it the company Primitive Penetrations,
Okay.
and Primitive Penetrations became a pop up shop for Gay Pride in Wisconsin at
Oh,
one of the festivals.
oh, okay.
And we did a pop up shop, and we were very sterile. We didn't reuse needles, and it became word of mouth. And pretty soon, people were like, "We had such a great experience. When are you gonna have a real shop?"
Oh,
And
wow.
so I think it was like 6 months after that, I ended up opening the permanent, like a brick and mortar shop called Penetrations. And I was a little nervous, but it took off because I mean we were in a college town of I think the college the town itself was like maybe 163,000 people. It wasn't that big, but the students were 30,000. So
Okay.
my
That
idea
is,
was to promote with the college and promote that we were the sterilest and safest shop in town. And I remember that we had a piercing special, and there's a difference between internally and externally threaded jewelry.
yeah.
Internally threaded is a better high-end quality jewelry that has no nickel or lead content in it. It's a more surgical stainless steel. It's better for your body. External, you know, it's a five and dime. You can buy 10 pieces of external for at 2 cents,
Yeah.
as opposed to internally threaded would cost me personally like $10 a piece each. Just to give you an idea of the quality. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we decided to do a piercing special to see if we were really going to make it or not, and we did $5 piercing. Does not include price of jewelry.
Okay.
So you get $5, and we our first day we did 280 piercings.
Wow.
So between my piercers and I, yeah, it was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, that's overwhelming.
So yeah, no, yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, Chris, one of my piercers, actually developed a latex allergy from switching gloves in and out so much. And
Wow.
but we did
Wow.
great, and that was the first day, and it was all weekend special. So I knew right there and then. I said, I think I found my niche. We're going to do this safely, fairly. We're going to do it right. We're going to do internally threaded jewelry, not externally threaded, and we're going to follow procedures, and we're going to set code. And pretty soon, other shops started trying to mimic us in the sense of doing it our way with internally threaded jewelry and stuff. I actually helped, in all honesty, helped the local health department in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, to form uh, to new laws, bylaws, and stuff like that for the piercing tattoo industry because
Wow.
of the fact that they weren't up to date on it, and I was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was a big honor. It was a big honor to be a part of that and have that. But alas, we decided to move to Chicago and become part of the Jackhammer family.
There was an interesting
But
piece in this when we prepared for this chat. You
okay,
mentioned, didn't you have shops in Provincetown and one for Sturgis for the bikers?
yeah, no, that's it's true. I didn't have shops in I worked in Provincetown during the summers.
Oh, oh,
Um,
okay.
this was later in life. No,
Oh, yes.
okay, so when I had penetrations in Wisconsin, we ended up opening up. I ended up buying like Spirit Tattoo, which was one town over in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and I ended up buying them. But I would keep their name. And for instance, I owned Lucky 13. I owned Body Arts. I owned Spirit Tattoo. I had Penetrations, and the funny thing is that I kept their names because my thing was I wanted to find out, I wanted to hear what people were saying about each shop. And if they knew I owned all the shops, they would keep their mouth shut so they wouldn't say anything and so forth. So that it was sort of my way of knowing without knowing. It's like, oh, they did this to you at Spirit Tattoo?
Oh,
Really? And all that. not knowing that I was still the owner of that shop. But yet, I upgraded the shops to, having the better quality jewelry and stuff like that. But I like to keep informed on the tattoo artists and the piercers and see what they were doing and see what was going on, you know. But yeah, then I had the opportunity of going to Sturgis in the summer, with 2 weeks out of the summer in August. And so what I did was at Sturgis, I worked for Larry Lacerno, who was the founder of APT, the Association of Professional Tattooists. I worked for him as a piercer and as bookkeeper. And I did that for 4 years, 5 years, and it came time they wanted to retire him and Kathy, his wife, and he looked at me. He says, "Well, Joey," he goes, "I think this will be our last run at Sturgis." I said, "Oh, all right. So we're not coming back next year. We're not gonna." He goes, "Well, Kathy and I, we're in our 70s. We want to retire and all that." He goes, "I believe that you've done a great job for me," and all. And I said, "Well, thank you." And I was very humbled and very honored, to be a part of that. But then he said, "You never stole the cent from me or anything." And I said, "Why would I steal from the hand that feeds me?" And he handed me the shop keys and he says, "It's yours." And I was like,
Wow.
"What?" So I literally
Wow.
got the shop for free. So I was like, I've never had such an honor like that before. Somebody like trusted me, knew I didn't steal from them, and apparently he had me audited. So I was like, "Well," but yeah, it was. He gave me the shop, and we had a tattoo artist that would come every year named Morris Zeiss from Zombie Tattoos in Germany, in
Oh,
Stuttgart,
wow.
Germany.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he says, "I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You give me half of this shop, and we'll do it every year at Sturgis, and I'll give you half of my shop that's year round." And I said, "Deal." So we ended up signing the paperwork and all that. So I became owner of part of a shop in Germany, and he became part owner of the shop in Sturgis that was just given to me, which was excellent. It worked out great. So
Now, I can't help but ask, because
okay.
in the leather community, in the kink community, the concept of a bunch of bikers and tattoos and piercings is the stuff of legend in a lot of raunchy fantasies.
Oh yeah. Um, it was
Tell us about like the hottest experience you had I'm sorry, piercing some hot biker.
um
Mm.
it was one of the hottest experiences I probably had was when the shop was closed in Sturgis. I remember this biker, and he was what I remember most was not only the boots, but it was the baby blue eyes. It was like,
Uh,
and he had me do his PA, and a PA is short for Prince Albert, which is to
yes,
the
yes,
foot of
yes.
the penis down and
Yep.
around. And I did his PA, and he got super hard, and you don't want it hard because you don't want blood in the area. So I'm like, he's like, "I'm getting hard." I'm like, "No, no, 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 you don't want that hard. You don't want blood coming to the area." But I remember him getting hard. I did the PA anyway, and then he didn't bleed, which is good. I mean, it happens. Some bleed, some don't. But he did come during
Ah,
the experience. I mean, he shot a lot, and I
wow.
remember that he shot in my face, and I was like, it was. I was like, wow, I've never had that happen before. I mean, I've had people throw up, I've had people get sick. They're never actually
Ah,
come or so. And he shot in my face, and he was so embarrassed. I'm like, "No, no, I sort of liked it." He goes, "You like that?" And I go, "Yeah." And then he. I hate to say this because it doesn't sound very sterile, but I went down and sucked his dick with the PA in
wow.
it, and he ended up fucking the hell out of me. So
What?
it's like, right, exactly. It's like, yes,
After
we
just
wrapped that in
being,
a condom, but he still had the PA on it.
yeah,
So it's like,
right after getting pierced, I can't imagine fucking, but
right, right.
okay, who am I,
Yeah, no, I couldn't either. I was like, but if if you're willing, I'm willing. I'm a soldier willing to try. So willing to serve and obey. But yeah, yeah. It was he bent me over the piercing table there and just had his way with me. And it was like it was erotic. I never thought somebody who just got here, first of all, would come like that because I didn't. At that time I hadn't experienced it yet, and then later just slap a rubber right on it and just go to town. So yeah,
But you,
that was a fantasy come true.
you've also pierced some very famous people. You told me something very fascinating about Madonna when we were preparing for this. What went on?
Um, Mad- Madge, or M as I call her, M was looking for a piercer, and I remember that Chris, her brother, was the one who introduced me or suggested me as a piercer to her. So I went to Michigan to actually meet her, and she's very she well, you would think she's tall. She's not that tall. I mean, everybody knows it who knows her. She's like 5'4", I believe, 5'3", this
Okay.
tiny little thing,
Yeah.
and very intimidating though. Very. She knows what she wants, and she expects it, and she wants the best, and she expects the best, and that there's no ands or buts about it. Uh, I looked, she's looking me up and down, and I looked at her up and down, and she goes, "I don't intimidate you, do I?" And I'm like, "No, not really." And
Uh,
yeah, she, I go, "You wipe your ass just like anybody else, you know?" And she looked at me, she goes, "No, I use baby wipes." I said, "So do I." And right there and then we knew we had connected, and we found out we were both Leos. She's August 16th, I'm August 3rd, and so we hit it off. It was really strange, but we had the same sort of warped sense of humor, and we hit it off. And one thing became another, and that was history. I mean, to this day, we'll talk every now and then. So, but yeah, she became my client, and it really is in the industry. It's more word of mouth. You know, what stuff would you use, or what tools would you recommend? Um, and it bloomed from there. But yeah, M is a wonderful person. We've talked a lot, and she's helped me a lot in a lot of self healing, I guess you could say,
oh,
self
oh, okay.
and a lot of meditation and stuff. But she's a great person. So
Fantastic. But
yeah,
have you ever held any like community titles or anything like that?
community titles, yes. I was so I ran for uh the I guess you could say hold on a second. It's on my head. Okay. So my first title that I ran for that I actually wanted to get was Minneapolis Eagle had
Oh,
opened up,
mhm.
and I ran for the Minneapolis Eagle. I ran for Mr. Minneapolis.
Oh,
Um, and I was third runner up, I believe.
oh,
Third runner up,
wow.
and it was an eye opening experience because first of all, I used to be a lot bigger then, and I was very self conscious of my weight, but
Mm.
I knew I could rock it in leathers, and so I though I was shy, believe it or not, and I was more of an introvert instead of an extrovert. Um, I and I knew I could make a difference with the community as far as helping with different charities. I ran for that title. I came third runner up. It's a it was to me it was a great experience yet horrifying at the same time. I don't know
Oh,
if I can
yeah,
say that.
I
Yeah,
believe it.
I mean it was scary. It was scary because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how people. Oh, what's that fat kid doing on stage? That type of thing. But it ended up being a great experience. So though it was scary, it became great. It was positive. So then later, fast forward, I became I ran for Chicago Leather, Illinois. It was Illinois Leather Boy
Oh, I
was
see.
mine,
Okay.
and that was in 2007, Illinois Leather Boy. And my lover at the time, the coach from we had moved to Chicago. He ran for Illinois Leather Sir. So it was boy sir, and we happened to be a couple. And he we ended up winning, which is
Yeah.
surprise, surprise. We won Illinois Leather Boy and Illinois Leather Sir, and we ran. Then you go from there. You go to Great Lakes, GLLA,
Yep.
where you represent 8 states, I
Yep.
believe it was.
Great
And
Lakes Leather Alliance. Yeah. Mhm.
yes, and we ended up winning that. So then we go on to from there. We are told we go to international, and at international, I was second runner up, and he was first runner up.
Oh,
So we
wow.
didn't win international, but
Yeah.
we went all the way. We
Yeah.
did pretty well. it was a great experience. I got to tell you, it's a whole different has circuits type of thing that I
Yes,
never had before.
it's
So
completely
all these
separate from
running,
a lot of the others. Yeah. But I
yeah.
remember seeing you guys win in Chicago.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was also there at GLLA, which unfortunately has folded. But I
yeah.
was there for that too. So I remember that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, it's great. It's good people too. So yeah, that's one thing I love about this. And being in the community and the experience of being a title holder is that you meet good people along the way, and
Mhm.
good influences and um, good how do you say it? Shit. Oh, um, good role
Ah,
models, and such forth. So yeah, it is a great experience, and I sort of remember you at the Chicago one. I don't remember seeing you at the GLLA one,
well, GLLA
but
was much bigger. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was much bigger. But
But
um,
now somewhere out there, out in wherever, there's going to be someone who wants to go into piercing. What
right.
advice can you offer that person?
My advice is to do your homework, uh, and do your research. It's not for everyone. Are you going to be comfortable, uh, uh, and able to stop someone from if they have, let's say, for example, hypothetically, they have factor eight deficiency. Do you know what that is? Well, no. Well, it's a deficiency where your blood is too thin.
Uh,
Thus, for if you pierce the skin, it's going to bleed out very quickly. And are you going to be able to handle that situation? Do your homework. Be educate yourself as to what things are and things and circumstances and what things can be. Piercing is great, but there's a lot of backstory behind piercing. There's people
yeah.
throwing up, people getting dizzy. There's a lot of work. In a way, you have to have a great bedside manner
Yes.
because you have to talk to people before and after. Educate your clients is my thing. You educate your clients. Not every piercing is for everybody, and tell people that if you're going to go into piercing, be prepared that it's not all money and fun, and it's a lot of education and a lot of educating yourself first and foremost. So you better be ready to do the work and do the studies. So yeah.
So, what advice can you offer someone wanting to go into the leather fetish community?
um Go in with an open heart. um don't close yourself off. If let's say uh like the puppy, you know you might not be into puppies. That's their fetish. You have to respect it. You have to let them enjoy their fetish for what it is. And it might not be yours, but be open hearted and be kind. It's important to be kind to someone, especially newcomers, because
Right.
you don't want them to have a bad experience, and you want them to be welcome. And that I would say, don't be so close minded and be open minded to everything, but yet set your boundaries and know and communicate your boundaries to your partner or to your people so they respect you as well and
Yeah.
grow and learn. So yeah.
Now you've done a lot of things. You've accomplished a lot. You've met famous people.
Yeah.
How would you like the community to remember you?
I would like the community to remember me as a person who genuinely cared about this community, who uh who would put their heart, their soul, their sweat, their tears, their blood out for this community in the sense of being there. Um, I don't care if you were my worst enemy or somebody who didn't like me. If you needed help, to know that I would be there for you because of the fact that you're a human being, you're a community member, whether it's leather or not.
Hmm.
It's just being there for someone and know that I have a very kind, forgiving heart. So
What's the biggest misconception about you?
then I'm an asshole.
And
I'm
why?
a bitch. Um, um, Probably because back in the day, I was no bullshit type of guy. I wouldn't take bullshit. I didn't appreciate gossip, and I didn't like people who gossiped about other people. Thus, I would kill it and nip it in the butt. And by doing that, I would be like, they don't talk about you, don't talk about them. Cut the bullshit out, and be like, oh, what a prick, or uh, just I, just the misconception that I'm all that because I know celebrities or I know this, I know that. I feel humbled and privileged to have met celebrities and deal with celebrities, and I don't look at them as celebrities. I look at them as human beings and people.
Yeah.
And the misconception that I'm all that because I was a celebrity piercer is false. I'm just a piercer. I would pierce John Doe as opposed to Janet Jackson. It's all the same as long as it's done sane and sterilely to me.
Yeah.
People don't always see it that way, which is unfortunate. But I would take my shirt off for anybody, whether they did me wrong or not, because that's the type of person I am. I'm very forgiving and very loving, and I believe in kindness. Being humble and kind is my go-to. So humble and kind. And I always say be safe, be sweet, and be kind. So
That's very beautiful, and that's something a lot of people in this community would benefit from hearing, I'll tell you.
yeah,
So
yeah. I believe so more so now than ever.
you said it.
Yeah.
But Joey Alegrett Jones, what a fascinating interview. I feel like we only scratched the surface, but at least
Oh
we've
yeah.
got at least we've got the gist of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. I think it went very well. Thank you very much for everything. And I think this one went a lot better than the last.
Okay, that's why we do it. Yeah?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Definitely. Thank you so much. I
All right,
appreciate you.
Joey. Again, an absolute pleasure, and thank you for being
Thank
part
you.
of and thank you for being part of Inside Leather History, a Fireside Chat. See, I can even
Well, thank
speak
you.
today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled and very privileged and very thankful for you as well for being a mentor and being a community leader and being someone that I personally have always looked up to as well. So whether
Oh,
you knew that or not, so I do. So
thank you. That's so
thanks.
beautiful, and I'm humbled to hear that. So,
Thank you. You have a
and
good
I
day.
also hope with the interview, I hope you enjoyed being had. So,
All right. Thank you. Talk to you later.
thank you,
Bye bye.
Joey.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out the Fireside Chat channel for more chapters in the history of leather. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe.